It began with a road that didn't exist on any map. Three friends, Aarav, Nisha, and Dev, were traveling to a famous trekking spot. Their bikes rumbled along the highway, the wind whipping through their hair. As the day wore on, the highway turned into a narrow road. But the three friends, filled with adventure, didn't bother checking the map. They trusted their GPS. But then, just as the sun dipped low, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, the GPS gave out. The road ahead became unclear, and the forest around them grew thicker. Then suddenly, as if emerging from the shadows, a dirt path appeared. "Look, guys," Aarav said, pointing. The road was narrow, almost swallowed by weeds on both sides. But there was something strange about it, something that seemed to beckon them forward. "Are you sure about this?" Nisha asked, her voice tight. She sensed a danger she couldn't quite name. Dev, ever the pragmatist, spoke up. "We don't really have a choice, do we? The sun's setting soon, and we need to find somewhere to rest." So they turned their bikes onto the overgrown road. It led them deeper and deeper into the hills. The air grew cooler, and the sound of the forest, normally a comforting melody, seemed to fade away. An eerie silence descended. After what felt like hours, they finally saw lights flickering in the distance. Hope surged through them. They pedaled faster. As they drew closer, they realized it was a village. But it wasn't like any village they had seen before. By the time they reached the village, night had begun to creep across the sky. The road ended at a T-junction, but there was no village in sight, only an old, weathered signboard. The paint was nearly gone, but the message was still clear: "Welcome to Dobia." The three friends looked at each other, puzzled. None of them remembered passing a turnoff for Dobia. When they checked their phones, the GPS showed nothing but a blank spot where the village should be. Dev got off his bike, walked up to the signboard and turned it around, hoping to see something on the back, but it was all the same. "Hello? Is anybody home?" Aarav called out into the quiet. His voice echoed through the empty streets. Suddenly, Nisha gasped. In the faint moonlight, she saw rows of small houses, each with its own front yard and a door left slightly ajar. As they cautiously entered the village, the sight before them sent shivers down their spines. The place was eerily quiet, as if everyone had vanished into thin air. The houses were small and built close to one another. Clay pots sat on hearths, as though waiting to be used once more. Blankets were neatly folded on wooden beds, and oil lamps hung from hooks, some half filled with oil. The walls were adorned with faded photographs of families, their smiles echoing the emptiness of the now silent rooms. "Where are the people?" Nisha whispered, her voice trembling. As she explored one of the homes, she found a child's toy lying on the floor, a doll without its head. A sudden gust of wind rattled the window panes, making her jump. Each room they entered was a tableau of everyday life interrupted. There was a sense of normalcy mixed with an unsettling feeling of abandonment. In the corner of one house, they found an old gramophone with a stack of vinyl records. Dev, always the adventurer, put a record on the turntable and gently placed the needle on the vinyl. A haunting melody filled the air, seeming to emanate from the walls themselves. It was a sad song, its notes weaving tales of loss and longing. The music seemed to seep into their bones, mirroring the desolation that permeated the village. As the night deepened, the forest came alive with unfamiliar sounds. Strange whispers seemed to brush past their ears, and the occasional hoot of an owl sent shivers down their spines. Nisha, huddled by the fire, tried to remain calm. But as the wind howled through the empty homes, carrying with it faint whispers of untold stories, she couldn't shake off the feeling that they were not alone. Every shadow seemed to deepen. Every rustle of leaves sounded like a footstep. In the corner of one of the houses, they found a weathered trunk. When Dev opened it, they found a stack of old yellowed letters tied together with a faded ribbon. One of the letters was addressed to a young girl named Maya. Intrigued, Nisha unfolded the letter. The ink had bled with time, but the message was still decipherable. It spoke of a mysterious illness that had taken many villagers, including Maya's parents. The writer, presumably Maya's aunt, urged her to flee the village, to escape the fate that seemed to be claiming everyone. Nisha closed the letter, her heart heavy. The mere thought of such a dark secret buried in the seemingly peaceful village sent a chill down her spine. With the fire crackling softly, they decided to spend the night in the house. The roof leaked in several places, and the damp sheets offered little comfort against the cold seeping in from the ground. Outside, the wind grew into a frenzy, rattling the windows and whistling through the cracks in the walls. The darkness deepened, pressing against them, heavy and suffocating. Every creak of the house, every gust of wind amplified their fears. Nisha lay awake, listening to the symphony of the night, her thoughts a jumble of fear and fascination. The diary had hinted at a darkness in the village, something sinister lurking beneath its tranquil facade. Now, surrounded by the oppressive silence, she couldn't help but wonder what exactly they had stumbled upon. Suddenly, a loud crash from downstairs made them all jump. Aarav grabbed a poker, his knuckles white as he crept towards the stairs. They moved as a team, their fears momentarily forgotten in the face of the unknown. In the flickering light of the lamp, they saw a shattered vase at the bottom of the stairs. The room was otherwise unchanged, yet the vase lay in pieces, as though something had come crashing through the night, or fear tightened its grip. Was someone, or something, sharing the old house with them? Or was it simply the wind playing tricks on their overactive imaginations? They spent a restless night in the old house, their dreams filled with whispers and shadows. By morning, the skies were gray and heavy, mirroring the weight in their hearts. The fire had died during the night, leaving them in the grip of a damp, chilling cold. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant cawing of crows. Nisha shivered, pulling her jacket tighter. The events of the night before weighed heavily on their minds. They knew they couldn't stay any longer. As they were packing up, Nisha found a worn leather journal lying on one of the tables. The leather was soft to the touch, and the pages, though brittle, still held secrets close. With shaking hands, she opened the journal. Inside, she found a faded entry dated 1943. The ink was spidery, and the words were edged with urgency. The entry spoke of a curse, a darkness that had befallen the village, taking away its people one by one. The writer Maya had been trying to escape the village, to seek help from the outside world. But as the days passed, she found herself losing her sanity. The lines blurred between reality and nightmare. Just then, the sound of a floorboard breaking made them all jump. They spun around, their eyes wide with fear. The house groaned, settling in the morning light, but the sound had been unmistakable. A chill snaked down Nisha's spine. Suddenly they heard footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from the direction of the attic. Terror locked their gazes. Someone or something was up there. What'll there be? Someone else in the village? Had the locals returned in the night? With hearts pounding in their chests, they fled the house, their bikes their only salvation. They didn't stop running until they were far away from the village, the trees blurring into a green tunnel. They looked back, but all they saw was the road leading to the village, straight and inviting, as though it had never been overgrown or hidden. The three friends never looked back. The village of Dobia remained etched in their memories, a haunting reminder of the darkness that sometimes lingers in the most unsuspecting corners of the world. The experience bound them together, a shared trauma that they knew would shape their friendship in the years to come. And while they never spoke of Dobia again, the memory of the village and its secrets lived on in their hushed whispers and furtive glances. The next morning, the sky was a bruised purple, heavy with rain. When they awoke, their heads pounding, the first thing they remembered was the warning from Old Man Himant. Whatever happens, don't look into my eyes. Yet somehow, against their better judgment, they couldn't help but steal glances at each other. The worry etched on Dev's face, the haunted look in Nisha's eyes, the unsettling grin plastered on Aarav's face. A shiver ran down their spines. This place was starting to feel like a trap, a tomb. They needed to get out. They got up, wincing. Every movement felt sluggish, like they were wading through thick mud. As they made their way through the deserted village, a strange calm had settled over them. It was as if the urgency to escape had leached away all their fears. They walked past the dilapidated houses, their footsteps echoing in the eerie quiet, past the overgrown market square where life had once bustled. Now only ghosts seemed to linger. The oppressive presence of the village seemed to press down on them, suffocating their hope. Finally, they reached the edge of town. Relief washed over them as they stepped onto the muddy road leading away from Maldini. With each step, the weight of dread lessened. As they walked, the whispers started. At first they were faint, like the rustle of dry leaves. Then they grew louder, slithering into their ears, coiling around their hearts. Leave, turn back. Dev froze, his heart hammering against his ribs. Was it the villagers? Had they followed them? Ignore it, Nisha said, her voice tight. It's probably just the wind. They quickened their pace, their breaths mingling in the humid air. The whispers intensified, morphing into chilling voices. Turn back, child. Out. You don't want to go deeper. Nisha shuddered. Who was speaking? The old woman from the temple. But she had died, hadn't she? Dev squeezed Nisha's hand, his touch electric with fear. She could sense his terror, his desperate hope that she understood whatever dark magic was at play here. Do not look into my eyes. Her gaze met his, locking with his in a silent vow to protect him, to shield him from the horrors unfolding around them. She would not let whatever was happening here take him from her. They pushed on, the whispers becoming screams, yet they didn't dare turn back. Just when the forest seemed about to swallow them whole, they spotted a clearing. A small hut stood in the center, smoke curling from its chimney. Hope surged through them. If anyone could help, it was Hemond. The hut looked much like the others, but as they approached, the front door creaked open. There was no welcome mat, no invitation, yet they stepped inside. The interior was dark, lit only by the fire outside. On the wall hung a shelf laden with herbs, dried flowers, strange symbols scrunched into odd shapes. It smelled like cinnamon and cloves, but also something musky, something primal. An old woman sat cross-legged on the floor, her back to them. She was hunched like an ancient gnarled tree, her white hair cascading down her faded blue shawl. She did not move. "Hemant," Dev called out, his voice echoing oddly in the small space. The old woman slowly turned, her face hidden in the shadows. "Comes to me in the dead of night." Her voice was like rustling leaves, brittle and aged. "We need your help," Nisha blurted out, stepping forward. "What brings you here?" Her voice was sharp, laced with suspicion. Dev opened his mouth to speak, but the old woman raised a hand, silencing him. "You seek answers, children? But the answers you seek lie within you. Must listen to the whispers, embrace the darkness that grows within." Her words hung in the air, thick with cryptic meaning. "We don't understand," Nisha said, confusion clouding her voice. The old woman rose, her joints creaking like the house itself. "Do not pretend ignorance. You feel it too. The pull of the night, the hunger for secrets. It is your birthright, your curse. This village is your legacy, and you, my dears, are its future." She drifted closer, her eyes gleaming. "Join me. Together we can bring Maldine back to life. Together we can make it thrive." She held out a hand, her smile a grotesque parody of warmth. Nisha recoiled. What was this madness? Why was the old woman tempting them like this? "Don't trust her." A voice echoed in Nisha's head, soft, yet insistent. It was Aarav. But how could it be? He was supposed to be dead. Nisha stared at the old woman, her mind grappling with conflicting thoughts. Join her and unlock the secrets of Maldini, or expose her and risk unleashing an unknown horror. She felt Dev's hand tighten around hers, grounding her to the present. They had come here for answers, not more questions. They needed to leave. She pulled away from the old woman, her voice shaking slightly. "Thank you, but we really need to go now." The old woman's smile widened, stretching unnaturally across her face. "So soon? Are you sure you won't reconsider? The power I offer is beyond measure. It's the secrets of Maldine, the whispers of the night. They're all yours for the taking. Just a little longer, just a little more trust." She took a step forward, her eyes boring into theirs. "A little blood. A little sacrifice. We can bring prosperity back to this village. We can make it live again." But Nisha knew there was no saving this place. The darkness here was too deep, too ancient. There was no prosperity here, only decay and sacrifice. The old woman craved it. She wanted them to give her something precious, but what their grip on reality was slipping. In this suffocating room filled with strange scents and unspoken horrors, the boundaries between sanity and madness were blurring. They had stumbled into a nightmare woven with whispers, curses, and secrets that should have remained buried. With trembling hands and racing hearts, they stumbled back into the unforgiving wilderness. Their sanctuary, the trees that had seemed like salvation, now loomed over them like gnarled skeletal fingers. Each rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent shivers down their spines. The forest floor, soft and yielding moments ago, had hardened into a treacherous maze of roots and stones. They were lost, utterly and terrifyingly lost. Aarav, Nisha screamed, shaking him harder. But his body was limp, his chest rising and falling in a calm rhythm, as if he was in the deepest sleep of his life. Only a smile. It was wide, too wide. His lips curled unnaturally, like someone else was wearing his skin. Dev leaned in closer, trembling. "He's dreaming," he whispered. But it's not his dream. Suddenly, Aarav's mouth opened. Not wide, just enough for a voice to escape. But it wasn't Aarav's voice. It was deep, hollow, and layered with echoes, like hundreds of voices speaking through him at once. "Join us." The lantern flared violently and went out, plunging the hut into darkness. Nisha screamed, fumbling for the matches, but in the pitch black she felt something brush past her arm, cold bony fingers dragging across her skin. "Dev, I'm here," he shouted back, lighting the lantern again with trembling hands. The dim light revealed Aarav, still sitting exactly where he had been, but now his eyes were open. Only there were no pupils, just milky white orbs staring blankly at the ceiling. And without warning, he stood up. His movements were jerky, unnatural, like a puppet being pulled by invisible strings. Nisha stumbled back, horrified. That's not Aarav anymore. He turned his head toward them slowly, his neck cracking loudly. The wide smile never left his face. And then he spoke again, in that same layered, otherworldly voice. "The village does not forgive. You entered. You must sleep." The lantern flickered. The shadows lengthened, stretching across the walls like living things. Suddenly, Aarav lunged forward, faster than humanly possible. His hands grabbed Dev by the throat, lifting him off the ground with terrifying strength. Dev gasped, clawing at Aarav's arms. His eyes bulged with panic. "Help!" Nisha screamed and grabbed the journal from the floor, flipping through it wildly. Her hand stopped at a page marked with a crude symbol, a circle with jagged lines. Beneath it, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "Keep the sleeper awake, or they belong to the village forever." With desperation, she shouted, "Dev, don't let him go unconscious, fight it." Dev's body was going limp in Aarav's grip. His eyelids fluttered, and then the breathing began again, that same slow, heavy, suffocating sound. But this time, it wasn't just outside. It was all around them, as if the entire village was awake and watching. What is happening to our hero? The silence in the forest was a heavy blanket, muffling the sounds of the night. The faint glow of fireflies painted ephemeral sparks against the encroaching darkness. In the clearing, an unsettling tableau unfolded. Dev's face turned blue as Aarav's hands tightened around his throat. His eyes rolled back, his body going limp. "No," Nisha screamed. She hurled the lantern at Aarav. The glass shattered, flames licking across the dusty floor. For the first time, Aarav's body recoiled, releasing Dev, who collapsed, gasping desperately for air. Aarav's blank white eyes flickered, but the smile never left his face. Nisha grabbed Dev, pulling him to his feet. "We have to get out of here." They bolted into the night, the fog curling around them like living hands trying to pull them back. Behind them, Aarav staggered out of the burning hut, his body still moving in jerks, the white eyes glowing brighter in the darkness. He began to follow. As they ran, the houses around them seemed to close in, their doors slamming shut one by one, as if the village itself was sealing them in. The ground trembled under their feet, and shadows stretched across the dirt path, blocking their way. Dev coughed, clutching his chest. I can't. Don't stop," Nisha yelled, dragging him. "If you fall asleep." But she didn't need to finish. Both of them could hear it now. Faint footsteps behind them, perfectly in sync with their own. When Nisha dared to glance back, her stomach dropped. It wasn't just Aarav. Dozens of figures were now following. Pale, hollow-eyed villagers with smiles carved into their faces, walking in unison. Their bare feet left no sound, yet their presence thundered in her ears. The cursed villagers, the ones who had fallen asleep and never woken up. Dev stumbled again. His legs gave out. He collapsed into the dirt. No, 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 Dev, Nisha screamed, trying to haul him back up. His eyes fluttered, his body shaking from exhaustion, and then his breathing slowed. A shadow fell over him. Aarav stood above, head tilted unnaturally to one side, that inhuman grin stretching even wider. Nisha screamed and ran. Tears blurred her vision as she sprinted toward the faded signboard at the village entrance. Somehow, through the fog and chaos, she spotted it. The wooden post with the carved words, "Do not sleep here." She crossed the boundary, stumbling onto the dirt road that led back into the forest. The instant she did, the whispers stopped, the chanting faded. The night grew quiet again, yet she collapsed to her knees, sobbing, too weak to move. The forest air felt different, lighter, as though she had escaped a suffocating grip. For a moment she believed she was safe, but then she heard it. From deep inside the village, faint, hollow voices whispered her name, Nisha, and when she looked down at her hands, she froze. Her skin was pale, almost gray. Her fingers were trembling, and on her lips she felt the corners pulling upward, forming a smile that wasn't hers.